It says to classify the triangle by its sides and by measuring its angles. So first, let's talk about when we classify a triangle by its sides. What if you have a no congruent angles? What do we call that?
Scaling.
Sorry, no congruent sides. It's called scaling. What if you have two congruent sides? Isosceles. Three congruent sides. Equilateral. So think equilateral has the word equal in it. Please understand that you cannot have an isosceles scalene.
Right.
They're like redundant. What does isosceles mean?
Two congruent.
Two congruent sides. What does scalene mean?
Zero congruent.
No congruent sides. So how can it have two congruent sides as well as have no congruent sides? Does that make sense in our heads?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it does.
It does.
It makes sense that we're not supposed to do.
We're not supposed to do that. Okay. I have had so many people write both of those, or they'll write right acute. When you're classifying by its angles, what did I tell you to look for?
Those measuring lines.
Yeah.
What was that, Kennedy? The biggest angle. Look at the biggest angle. If the biggest angle is less than 90, what do we call that? Acute. If the biggest angle is 90. Right? If the biggest angle is more than 90. Obtuse. What if it has all congruent angles? Equiangular. And if it's equiangular, it is also equilateral. Okay, good. Let's do this. So let's classify first by the sides. How many sides are congruent? Number one? None of them, which makes it scalene. So it's the first part. I've seen very many variations of this word. Please get close to it. I understand spelling is not everyone's forte, but if you write scalososceles, I'm not going to take that. I have seen that twice today. I don't know if they thought maybe if I write half of each. No, you got to pick one. Scalene, and then measuring its angles. We look at the biggest angle. What is the largest angle in number one? Q, and it looks obtuse. So scalene, obtuse. Do I care if you write obtuse scalene?
No.
No, I do not.
Triangle.
Yep, triangle. Number two, how many sides are congruent?
Zero.
None of them, which makes it scalene again. And then what would be the largest angle?
C.
C. So pause for a second. You see how I boxed in measuring its angles?
Right.
So it assumes that you're measuring them with a protractor, which none of us are. So there is no right angle box here, but it is a right angle because they assume that you're taking a protractor and measuring it. Does that make sense? Otherwise, there'll be a right angle box, but they assume that you're measuring it yourself. So if that is a right angle, and it is, what kind of triangle will that be?
Right.
A right triangle. So scalene, right. And then number three, how many sides are congruent? Two of them, because those tick marks, which makes it isosceles. And then what looks like the biggest angle?
F and E.
F and E, which, do they look more than 90 or less than 90?
Less than 90.
Less, which would make it acute. So I'm going to pause here because there is a part in your quiz that some of you will have. If you have two congruent sides, that's what I've highlighted in like that pink color. How many congruent angles do you have? Two of them. You need to know where they are. The congruent angles will always be directly across from the congruent sides. Does that make sense? So these two angles will actually be the same measure. So E and F. You will need to know that, some of you. Okay? It's not going to be a ton of points if you don't by now, but you do need to know that. Okay? We're going to move on. We are going to probably speed up because we only have 10 minutes left, 9 minutes left. Number 5, find the measure of the exterior angle. Okay, what is my exterior angle on number 5?
1.
Angle 1. In order to find my exterior angle, I add up my two non-adjacent interior angles. What are my two non-adjacent interior?
53 and 53.
53 and 53. I add them and they'll equal my outer angle. What's 53 and 53?
106.
So my answer is 106. Number 6, I know we're moving quick, but we just gotta. Number 6, what are my two non-adjacent interior angles? 40 and 5x plus 15, and they will equal 8x minus 5. So we're going to add them. 40 plus 5x plus 15 equals 8x minus 5. You have no idea how many times people have gotten this right and then done the wrong math. Please look at the screen for a second. 40 and 15 are on the same side. Do we agree?
Yeah.
So you have to do whatever action it says that we want them to do. So it says 40 and a plus 15. What is 40 plus 15?
55.
55. Please make sure you're not that person because I've graded so many papers where they try to subtract 15 from 40. If they're on the same side, just do whatever it says for them to do. Okay, 40 plus 15 is 55. And then we got plus 5x equals 8x minus 5. What's my smallest x? 5. So how do I move it? Subtract it. So I have 55 equals 3x minus 5. Next, we're going to add 5. So 60 equals 3x. So then what does x equal? 20. Did I answer the question?
No.
No. I need to plug it back in, but what is it asking me to find? The exterior angle. What is the exterior angle? 8x minus 5. So let's plug it in. 8 times, 8 times 20 minus 5. What's 8 times 20? 160 minus 5 is? Alright, the problem at the very bottom of your page, I promise there will be one identical to this on your quiz. There will also be 2 of them on your test. Okay, so please do what I do. First thing, what shape are we talking about? What kind of triangle? Right triangle. Draw one. Alright, I have a math degree and I need to still see math. Okay, if you've noticed, when you ask me for help and you just start spurting out a bunch of math, I tell you I can't hear math, I see math. Okay, because I like to see it in front of me. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this word problem and put it in a picture because most of us do better with pictures. However, I told you when we did problems like these, there's going to be a commonality in all of them. What will there always be? One of our angles will always be something other than 90.
X.
One of them will always be x. Every single time. So when we go to solve, we can't forget about this x. A lot of people, they're like, oh, one of my angles is 90. They did that on their quiz, and then they forgot about it when they went to solve. Okay, so don't forget about that x. The other angle is described in the problem. So let's read it. In a right triangle, the measure of one acute angle is twice the sum of the measure of the other acute angle and 30. So we're going to pause. Let's pick some words. So the measure of one acute angle, so the angle we're finding, is twice. Let's pause there. What does twice mean? 2 times.
Double.
2 times. Yes, doubled, but that I'm just going to break it down to 2 times for now. So 2 times. And then it says the sum. Can someone give me the exact definition of the word sum? Kennedy? The answer to an addition problem. So not just adding, but the answer to an addition problem. So you're actually going to put parentheses and a plus sign. Because you're going to want to multiply what's added together. So what are we doing the sum of? Let's look. The measure of the other acute angle. Well, what did we call the other acute angle? X and 30. So plus 30. So I've seen a lot of people get this part correct and they don't get their math right after this. So 2 times x plus 30. What do you know about these 3 angles in a triangle?
They all add up to 180.
They add up to 180. How many angles add up to 180?
3.
3 of them. So a lot of people, they're like, yeah, I got 2 times x plus 30. Okay, and then I got x. I'm good with that. But what did I forget? 90. I need to add in 90, and it will equal 180. You need to make sure you have all 3 angles add up and equal 180. Okay? What do we do from here to continue to solve? Distribute. 2 times x is? 2 times 30 is? 60. Plus x plus 90 equals 180. 2x and x make? 3x. 60 and 90 make? 150. All right, subtract that 150. And 3x equals, focus, 3x equals 30. Divide by 3 and x equals 10. Have I answered the problem?
No.
What did it ask me to find? The measure of each acute angle in the right triangle. How many acute angles are there in a right triangle? 2. One of my angles was called x, so I can circle that. That's cool. I got that.
Nice.
How many degrees should fit inside of a triangle?
Probably 180.
180. So I have 10 degrees. I also have this 90. So how many degrees is that?
80.
That's 100 degrees because 90 plus 10 is 100. So how many degrees do we have left, Andrew? 80.
That's what I meant.
I know. I was trying to lead you there, buddy. All right, we got one more. Go ahead and turn to page 131. We got to hurry because we're already out of time. Come on. We're just going to talk through these. 131, looking at the top of the page. We're not going to physically do these because we just don't have time. But it says, identify all pairs of congruent corresponding parts. I actually left that fill in the blank on your quiz. So I would say, what is angle P congruent with?
Yes.
How do we name an angle? Angle symbol and a letter.
Or number, right?
No.
Sometimes they have numbers.
Yeah, if it's named by a number. But most of these will be the letters. All right. So angle P and angle S. P and S. What other angles are congruent? Q and T. What else? R and U. Let's look at sides. What is PQ going to be congruent with? ST. What is QR going to be congruent with? TU. And then what about PR? SU. So please look at this because on a portion in your quiz, you're not going to have this phrase. What you will have are all these tick marks. Okay? So what you need to do is match up the amount of tick marks. So PQ is still congruent to ST because they have one tick mark. Can a side equal an angle? No. And we're going to talk about that in a second. All right, the last part is write another congruent statement. Congruent statements look like this. So a triangle, we could say RQP, which would be congruent to UTS, triangle UTS. So make sure when you get to that, you don't leave that blank. And the last thing we're going to talk about, super duper quick, let's look at, this is number 3 on the same page. 2x minus 20, is this a side or an angle? An angle, can someone raise their hand and tell me why we think it's an angle? There's a degree symbol. What else tells me it's an angle? Jerron, I heard you saying something. It's pointing to where? To the angle, yeah. 2 very good reasons. So it's at angle Y. What is congruent with angle Y? Angle S, which would be 30 degrees. So you would set them equal 2x minus 20 equals 30. We're not going to solve for now. We don't have time. If we wanted to solve for Y, is Y an angle or a side? It's a side. Can someone think of why it is a side?
Because they don't want to have the same letter for the side.
Centimeters.
Centimeters is a good reason why it's a side. What else is why it's a side? Just think about it. Where is it located?
On the side.
On the outside, it's not pointing to an angle on the inside like these are. Okay? These are pointing to the angle on the inside because there's not enough room. So 3y plus 9 is on side ST or TS. What is congruent with ST? Yeah, XZ. What? Just look at this statement. ST and YZ. We're getting there. All right. So YZ doesn't have anything written on it, but it does have this tick mark. What does that tick mark mean? It's congruent. So what else are these congruent to? 15. So that means this would also equal 15. Okay, go ahead and clear your desk of anything besides a pencil and a calculator. If you want 5 points off. All right, so here's what we're going to talk about. Your homework looks like this. You're doing the evens. If you don't want to do the evens, there are 35 problems. You do you. Your review sections are due on Wednesday. There are only 2 of them, 5.1 and 5. Actually, that might be 3. Because I think we did 5.1 part 1, 5. Yeah. So there's 3 sections that are due on Wednesday. You keep your student journal. Do not give it back to me. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Kevin heard me. Did anybody else hear me?
I said yes.
Thank you. All right, we're going to take our quiz.